E2 change of status versus an E2 visa. What is the difference? Hey everybody, my name is Marcella Dominguez and I am here to give you more information on E2 visas. I am a lawyer, so if at any time you feel like you want to send me an email, it's always free to do so. Scroll down into the description. If you're considering an E2 visa or a change of status to start or grow your business in the US, you're probably wondering about the differences between these two options: the change of status, E2 visa, and the E2 visa. I thought it would be really helpful to explain the differences to you in a very clear manner so that you understand whether you should be in the US and requesting one of these options or outside of the US requesting one of these options. So if you are a business owner or you are thinking about becoming a business owner or entrepreneur and US immigration laws apply to you, then you want to make sure to stick with me until the very end of this video. You don't want to miss any of these details, but in case you do, again, scroll down into the description and send me an email. So what is an E2 change of status? An E2 change of status is when you are already in the United States. So if you are already in the United States, then please listen to what I am about to tell you. An E2 change of status, again, is when you are already in the United States and you want to switch from one visa status to another. So if you're watching this video, you might be in the United States already because you could be here on a visitor visa, a B1. You could be here on a student visa, an F1. Or you could be here on another non-immigrant status and you want to change it to an E2 status. The change of status process means that you are applying to stay in the United States longer under the E2 visa rules without needing to leave the country. So you're already here in the country, you're here under another visa, and you want to change to an E2 visa status. So what is the benefit of doing this? The benefit of changing status when you are already here in the United States means that you can stay and run your business under E2 status while you wait for the official approval from USCIS, US Citizenship and Immigration Services. You do not need to leave the country for an interview, and you will get a document called an I-94, which shows how long you are allowed to stay in the US. So contrast that with an E2 visa. What is the difference? An E2 visa, on the other hand, is a travel document that gets stamped in your passport at a US embassy or consulate. It allows you to enter the US, but unlike the change of status, it requires you to apply from outside of the United States. So if you are outside of the United States, then you would be applying for an E2 visa. You would not be applying for a change of status. So once approved for an E2 visa, you can enter the US on the E2 visa and start working on your business or simply get entry into the United States to explore your investment options. It's important to note that not all E2 visas are the same. Depending on your country of citizenship, your visa could be valid for anywhere from 3 months to 5 years and may be for single entry or multiple entry. So it is going to be very important to determine which country you are applying from in order to figure out some of these stay details and entry details. So what do you get with an E2 change of status versus an E2 visa? An E2 change of status, again, is when you apply for a change of status. You do not get an actual visa stamp in your passport. Instead, you get an approval notice that tells you how long you can stay in the US under E2 status, which is usually for up to 2 years. You also get the I-94 document, which proves your authorized stay in the US. Whereas with an E2 visa, you get a visa stamp in your passport. This visa is what allows you to enter the United States. And as I mentioned, depending on your country of origin, it could be valid for a few months or for several years. And it can be for multiple entries or a single entry. Where do you file your application? If you need to file for an E2 change of status, you are going to file with USCIS or with us. We can help you. And the USCIS is the US government agency that handles immigration cases. You can file valid if you are already in the United States on a valid non-immigrant status, like a tourist visa or student visa. But if you want to apply for an E2 visa, you must be outside of the United States. You file your visa application at a U.S. embassy or U.S. consulate in your home country or country of residence. So for example, if you're a Canadian citizen, you would apply at the U.S. consulate in Toronto. So at this point, you might be wondering, do I need an interview? Well, if you are filing for an E2 change of status, there is no interview involved. You simply submit your application to the USCIS and wait for the approval. On the other hand, if you are applying for an E2 visa and you're located outside of the United States, then you will need to have an interview at the US Embassy or US Consulate in your home country. And this is where they will ask you lots and lots of questions and review your documents to make sure everything is in order before they issue a visa. So how long does it take to process an E2 change of status? Processing times can vary widely, but typically it takes about 5 to 6 months. If you want to speed things up, you can opt for premium processing, which guarantees a response within 15 days. But remember, if you are asked for more documents, it can extend the process. So what is the processing time if you're applying for an E2 visa? Remember, outside of the United States, in your home country, the processing time can also vary depending on the US Embassy or consulate you are applying from. Typically, it can take a few months to get your visa appointment, especially if you're applying at a very busy consulate. So can you travel during this time, or what does travel look like with an E2 change of status or an E2 visa application? And this is a very important question that I want to answer. If you apply for a change of status, you are not getting a visa. So if you leave the United States after changing your status, you forfeit your E2 status. This means you cannot, and I repeat, you cannot re-enter the US on that status unless you apply for an E2 visa at a consulate outside the US. Contrast that with an E2 visa. You can leave and re-enter the US as many times as the visa allows. Again, this depends on your country. It could be multiple entries or a single entry. So what can you do in the United States with an E2 status? Both the E2 change of status and the E2 visa allow you to run and manage your business in the US. This means you can direct and develop your E2 business without needing to leave. But let's say you have a spouse or children, then what? If you are the spouse of an E2 visa holder or an E2 change of status applicant, you can work anywhere in the United States without needing a separate work permit. This can be a huge benefit for you and your family. But what about E2 children? Children of E2 holders can attend school in the US, but they are not allowed to work under the E2 visa or the E2 change of status. So which option is right for you? Choosing between an E2 change of status and an E2 visa depends on your situation. Again, if you are already in the United States and you do not need to travel soon, a change of status might be a great option for you. Again, if you are outside of the United States, then you will probably need to apply for an E2 visa and again, secure a consultation at a US consulate or US embassy in your home country. If you need help with an E2 visa, please feel free to send us an email because it's free to do so. My email is down in the description below, and we'd be more than happy to help you navigate this E2 visa issue. We want to simplify the process for you and ease the stress of knowing what to do. If this video was helpful, please hit the subscribe button down below and don't forget to send me an email because it's always free to do so. If you want to learn more about an E2 visa, please make sure to click on that link over there where I get more specific on an E2 visa. But before you log off, if you're thinking of applying for an E2 visa or a change of status, we will guide you through the entire process and help you avoid roadblocks. Whether you're looking to start a new business, expand an existing business, or investing in a US business, we have got you covered. And don't forget to sign up for our free newsletter. All you have to do is scroll down into the description, and it's totally free to contact me and to receive our emails. I look forward to seeing you in the next video, but don't forget to catch that one right there because it's a great continuation and follow-up to this one.